this is Jason and Chris, Music49. We're talking about getting started with improv, and we're focusing on the blues. A lot of different things to do whenever you start talking about improv. It's very complicated, a million different directions. So I brought Chris in here with me because he's a composer and quite the improv artist himself. So I'm going to ask him a few questions and help you hopefully get started with this. Now, what we're playing here is a song by Tracy Chapman. I think this one's Give Me One Reason. Something like that. Yeah, and it's basically a 1-4-5. What does that mean? The first note, the fourth note, and the fifth note of the major scale. We're building chords on that and just using it as a progression. So what I was doing was an E major, and then an A dominant 7 to a B dominant 7. Okay, so those are the chords, and you can also play those open. A dominant 7, and boom. Back to E. So this is, you'd call this a 1-4-5 blues progression, essentially. Yeah, all right, cool. Now, Chris, whenever I started improving, I was torn because we've got the major scales, which is 7 notes plus a root, and then this pentatonic scale. Why should a new student start with the pentatonic scale versus the major scale?
Well, I think the pentatonic minor scale is easier to memorize. It's got fewer notes. It's also harder to hit a note that doesn't sound good, so long as you're playing the right notes. If you can memorize those patterns, I think it allows you to have a free space to experiment, but also gives you some confines so that you don't wander off into the darkness and get yourself hurt or whatever, as we might think about it. So I think the first pattern that I like to use, and I consider this pattern 1 in the pentatonic scale. We were just doing this in E, so we would start this at the 12th fret. I'm playing 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15 again.
And that should be plastered all over the internet. You should be able to find that. That's the E minor pentatonic scale. If you just do a search for it, the tab should be everywhere.
I think that's pretty easy to do, and some students like to do that down in the first position where we transfer that down here, and I think somebody who's having a little bit more trouble might feel comfortable down there, up here. You know, I think the next most important thing after getting those patterns under your fingers is to play along with chords and hear how those notes fit with those chords. So, you know, playing music is more than just playing the right note. It's playing the right note at the right time with the right feeling, and there's more and more and more that we could layer into that too. So, you know, a good blues solo or a good solo doesn't have to be really fast and flashy and fancy. It could be just the right notes at the right time. And, you know, knowing that, the only way to really truly know that is to listen a lot, play a lot, listen to other good players, try to mimic maybe some of their things, but also feel free to experiment with your own sounds and what you feel like is the right note to play with a chord. Now, you can get into the theory of that and try to figure out chord tones and, you know, what chord tones you are playing. And I think as you advance and become, you know, maybe a jazz player or a metal player or something like that, you might really want to get into that side of it. But just to make some sound that feels comfortable, fun, enjoyable, I think starting with the pentatonic scale can be a really good place to get started.
And it's 5 notes, so we're talking about 5 notes, and that's the beauty of it. That was the genius behind maybe like SRV, Stevie Ray Vaughan, is he's playing these 5 notes seemingly over and over again and making them sound different. Because, you know, in this little pattern that he was talking about, you know, you can just play one note. You know, that's 4 notes, but somehow it's said a lot. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. So so to start with, we were talking about E minor pentatonic scale. We're playing in a 1-4-5, this Tracy Chapman song. I hope she plays it in E originally.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. And start there. You don't have to be blazingly fast, right? It's about expression. It's about timing. It's about hitting these notes. And we're here to help. So if you need anything, you can always email us. Call us here at Music49. Just to put a little bit of advertisement part in it, I'm using a Tom Anderson Cobra. Chris is using a guitar that we actually put together here. This is a parts caster, Chris parts caster, Palmer Fab 5, and a Laney VC30. Cables by Matt Alexa, who is a local guy that makes our cables. We buy local. We hope you do too. And we hope this helps. So thanks a lot. Peace out.